Welcome to Archeotech Assimilation, where we discover and investigate the technology of the Imperium and the tools of chaos.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Archeotech Assimilation. My name is John, and I'm joined by Glenn. Hello mate, how you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good, mate. My brain's back engaged now, so hopefully this will be smooth.
Good.
So we are on episode 2 of Interrogator, the crime noir stylized animation, and hopefully you've watched the first episode of the review we've already done, so you should know our thoughts on that. But how did you find this episode, Glenn? The story expands.
Yeah, exactly as you said. Nice, little bit more to the story. We're getting a few more characters fed in, a little bit progression with the story, a little bit more about our actual protagonist as well. So yeah, it seems to be moving on the right direction.
Yeah. There's not too much to it. Episode 2, another 12-minute episode, but I think it fills in a little bit more. Like you say, we're figuring out who these people were a few years ago at least. So I think we'll jump straight into it, because anything else we talk about is just going to spoil the story before we already spoil it. So we'll jump through it and then we'll talk about it at the end. So take this as your spoiler warning as normal. As we go into episode 2, this is going to hurt. So now that we have our normal imagery in place, my brain is now engaged, and we'll get into it. So this episode starts with our ex-interrogator Jurgen, or Jurgen, however you want to pronounce it, and his old friend Balder walking through the city, trying to follow up on a lead that Balder has brought to his attention regarding the death of their old friend or boss or potential love interest. And from his monologue, he's telling us that it always rains in this city, and he feels like the Emperor's trying to wash them all away because he's sick of the scum that inherit this planet. And he notices that Balder's looking pretty good and feels like working as a free agent's done him some good. But when Balder finishes talking to this guy, he walks over and he immediately says that he looks like crap, because he doesn't want to admit that people are doing well without him, I guess. So they carry on through the city looking for someone called Heroth, who Jurgen refers to as a traitor. And he said that he had looked for him for months following the death of Bellinor, but he gave up due to a constant pain in his head. And he tells Balder that he's lucky he doesn't suffer from his curse. But Balder tells him it's just an excuse, and he's just been afraid to use it properly. Eventually, they end up at a bar called the Voidsman, which Jurgen's not happy about, because it's owned by a woman named Sulfur, another acquaintance of these two, one that he tells us that he never quite trusted, and has an inkling that she may be involved in the murder all along. But he goes in anyway, and they tell her what they're doing and what they're looking for, and she seems shocked and surprised and says that it's been years, and if Heroth is still alive, he'll be the other side of the Great Rift by now, and tells them to give it up. And Balder tells her that Heroth's here somewhere, and he points out a guy sat at a table with some other lowlifes drinking, and they said he's a regular called Broeth, and Balder had recently overheard him talking about a guy he bumped into, and mentioned that this strange person had made him feel sick just by being near him, and given him a horrible scratching feeling in the back of his brain, and he'd had to really fight the urge to vomit just by being in his presence. And Jurgen dismisses it and says that the way this world is and the way the universe is, that you take a step outside this door and everyone we meet is going to make me want to vomit. So he's a pretty cheerful fellow. Yeah. And Balder doubles down and says, look, the thing that gives it away is Broeth mentioned this guy had a gold coin that he rolled around his knuckles, which is a key habit that Heroth had back in the day. And Jurgen's inner monologue goes off again, telling us it's a reminder of Herof's old life. It was the last imperial credit from his home planet, and he had prized it from his brother's hands whilst boarding an evac ship. And he says that if he never trusted Salfar, he definitely despised Herof, and remembers feeling the urge to vomit if he ever got too close to the man. So with that, Jurgen and Balder go to where Broth is sitting, and as they walk over, this group start laughing in his face and tell him to go away. Broth says, I'm not going to give you any information, and Jurgen says that you are, but the question is, how much blood will be spilt before you do give the information? And he gives them the option to fight him, or they can sit and have a drink together instead. And after squaring each other up, Broth sits down and says he could use the drink after all. And Jurgen says, the next one's on me, as he's taking off his gloves, and says, and so is the next one, because this is still going to hurt. And he grabs the guy by the wrists, and we see some sort of flashbacks, as his inner monologue tells us that the way he reads people is always ugly. And we see glimpses of Broth's memory. One seems to be him robbing somebody, and then the other is meeting with Herof in a church. And by the time the information Jurgen's looking for is done, Broth looks like he's got blood streaming out of his eyes, and he drops him back into his chair. And then Jurgen throws up all over his feet, which is pretty funny, and throws him a coin to pay for another drink to clean his shoes. And Broth's sort of in the chair having a seizure, but his goons get up and surround them, but they pay him off and get left alone and say goodbye to Salfa. And as they go out into the city, Jurgen's still feeling a bit sick, and he looks down over a balcony and has a flashback and sees Belena falling back into the flames with a wound coming out of her chest. And as he turns, he sees Herof stood there with his gun pointed at her. And then we get a close-up of the coin, and the episode ends. So that's it. So what did you make of that, mate?
Yeah, like I say, it was pretty good. Expanded on a few people. Give us a little bit of an idea of who they were hunting as well, and what sort of powers associated people had.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that Heroth is a blank, because it keeps coming up that it's got that scratchy feeling in the back of people's minds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think Jurgen, clearly some kind of psychic power going on. So the fact that he really, really doesn't like him, very uncomfortable around him as well.
Yeah.
So it all fits together. Yeah, I thought like the voice acting was good. I'm liking the animation style. I think it would be nice with a little bit of color, but it's not something that's, turning me off enough. No. So I can live with the black and white.
Yeah. No, I can do the black and white's fine. If that's the style that we've got, then it's fine. Because they did it in Angels of Death, so and that was all right. But yeah, I can take it either way.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, I think on the last episode, we're definitely seeing that. I think Bellinor must have been the Inquisitor, because they referred to it as her crew when they were talking about Heroth and Salfar joining it. And obviously we see that Heroth is the one who shot her in the chest, so that's what they call him, the traitor, and they're looking for him. So yeah, a bit of clarity there, and how everyone's sort of fitting into their roles from their previous life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was one distracting thing. Salfa, was it just me, or did she sound a little bit like a young Whoopi Goldberg?
I didn't pick up on that. I did think that her voice seemed a bit forced, though. Like someone was putting a bit of a more gravelly voice in. Yeah,
if you rewatch it thinking Whoopi Goldberg, you'll be like, I see where he's coming from. I think there's just, for some reason, there's a couple of voices in this episode that made me think that some of the voice acting has gone with like an imitation of a famous actor, because there's a couple of other ones that made me go, that sounds really like somebody who I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, it's just,
maybe it is. We had
I doubt very much that we're gonna get Whoopi Goldberg in a random
who knows
throwaway episode of Interrogator.
Who knows? Be good though. You have to do some digging and find out.
I did try and look online, but I couldn't find who'd done the voices.
But yeah, I mean, it was a good episode. Not much to it really. Not that it just progresses, I guess. So, like we always say, when it's all done, it'll be good to watch as one long episode. But yeah, nothing to complain about, I don't think.
No, as long as it's sticking to the what is it, the word
Sticks
escaped me.
to the storyline.
No, that's not the way of building the story. So we're gonna have a few sort of prologue episodes or epilogue episodes, whatever the pre stuff, and then we'll get into the meat of the story once we've sort of established who everybody is and what everybody does, kind of stuff.
Yeah, I imagine that if this is probably only going to be maybe another 4 or 6 parts, so hopefully by the end of the next episode they'll come across Heroth at the very least.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see.
I quite like how he's reluctant to do it as well. He feels like he's being dragged along, but the passion's still there. He is going along anyway.
Yeah, it's nothing better than a flawed character, is there, for a bit of plot development.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool. So, like I said, there's not really too much to it. So, you got any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
No.
No. Okay. Cool.
No.
Well, thanks everybody for watching. As always, hopefully you'll join us for the next one, and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, where you can talk to me, Glenn, and the other guys from Iron and Ceramite. Obviously, subscribe to YouTube if you liked what you see, and give the video a like. We've got a podcast that's on the YouTube as well, and also you can listen to it as a podcast rather than a video. Twitch and Patreon, I always say, we just need to actually figure out what we're doing there. But subscribe, because something cool may happen one day. If you're doing any hobby-related shopping, use our Element Game link, where you get your discounted stuff anyway. And then you can join Combat Cards and fight out amongst Glenn and Shane for the top seat, the Golden Throne of Terror. Who's sitting on top at the minute?
Well, as we speak, the season's just finished, and I finished top in the clan.
There you go.
Again this month. So
again. See, fighting words. So join the clan, and don't let Glenn get there next month or next season. But that's all for this episode. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Right.
As always, we would like to thank you for listening to our Iron and Ceramite podcast. If you liked us, then you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any other good podcast services. Just remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.